The following program is presented live by Grafing Productions.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and lovers of fine music. My name is Ragtime Rick, as you probably already knew, and we are at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company in beautiful downtown Toledo, Ohio. But the event center, the Tip Jar Lounge, the place where we usually can be found playing to a nice live audience, is here, but there's no live audience whatsoever. And the governor of the state of Ohio keeps changing his mind so often we don't know when we're going to be back in business again. But we do have my friend Wes Linenkugel here on the tenor banjo, and we have the old piano wheeled out. So it is December. We're going to play some seasonal tunes. Hope to get everybody in the Christmas spirit, if you will, or at least the holiday season spirit. And we're going to play some old-time songs that you recognize. Normally, I'd say if you have any requests during the course of the evening, we would do our best to ignore them. But since there's nobody here to make a request, we'll just sort of figure out what we're going to play anyway. All right, well, anyway, okay, I guess you can make requests over YouTube. I don't know if we'll get the message, but we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, we're going to start things off with our December program here on the old rinky-tink piano and get things moving. I'll get my hands working, see if my fingers will work, and we'll play something that you may actually recognize. Well, there you have it. Putting on the Ritz. That's our holiday warm-up song. Putting on the Kings might be a little more appropriate. But, yeah, we snuck the Three Kings into the middle of that, and that sounded okay to me. I certainly hope you enjoyed that. That's kind of, if you will, a holiday type of celebration. It is December, and I don't know where you are viewing this program from, but in the city of Toledo, we had our first real snowfall of the season here the last few days. It's beginning to melt now, but the ground is still covered with snow. And that happens this time of the year. All of a sudden, the weather goes from fall to winter. And that's okay, because there are all sorts of great things to do in the winter. At least on a normal year, you can go out sledding, and you can go skiing, and you can go ice skating. I don't know if the governor's going to let us do any of those things this year, but he'll tell us to have a happy Christmas anyway. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to warn everybody that if you do decide to step outside this time of the year, make sure that you take good care of yourself and you button up your overcoat. Your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Eat an apple every day, get to bed by 3. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Be careful crossing streets, ooh, don't eat meat, ooh, cut out sweets, ooh. Keep away from bootleg hooch when you're on a spree. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Eat an apple every day, get to bed by 3. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. Don't sit on hornets' tails, ooh, or on nails, ooh, or third rails, ooh. Ruin your tum-tum and keep away from college guys when you're on a spree. Take good care of yourself, you belong to me. That's good advice to this day. Button up your overcoat and keep away from college guys. Yeah, that's all good advice. That's all good advice. Hello, camera 3. Hello, camera 3. Are you there, camera 3? Well, camera 2. Okay, I'll say hi to camera 2. That's okay. I'm not fussy. Yeah, it's amazing. You wouldn't believe how big of a staff it takes to put on this particular production and how small of a staff we actually have to put on this particular production. There was a songwriter back in the 1920s, a fellow named J. Fred Coots. And he got together with a gal named Dorothy Fields, and they wrote a few songs, and they never really became popular. Dorothy Fields wound up teaming up with a song plugger, a guy named Jimmy McHugh, and they had a couple of big hits. 1928, I Can't Give You Anything But Love, Baby. 1930, On the Sunny Side of the Street. But J. Fred Coots didn't have such luck. And then all of a sudden, in the 1930s, he came up with a song, and he sent it to the music publisher, and they said, well, we'll publish it, but don't expect it to do very much. It's a kid's song, and kids' songs never do sell very well. But we'll publish it, and we'll see what happens. Well, it turned out that if you remember the great entertainer Eddie Cantor, he used to have a radio program on Sundays, and he introduced this song on his radio program on the Sunday immediately after Thanksgiving. And within a week, the song sold 100,000 copies of the sheet music, became a huge hit. By the end of the year, it sold 500,000 copies of the sheet music, became a gigantic hit. I believe there was only one band that recorded it that particular year. I think it was 1937. I don't remember exactly. But there was only one band that recorded it the first year, and that was Harry Reeser and his Clico Club Eskimos. Now, Harry Reeser was a banjo player, played the tenor banjo just like Wes did. How did that beer get there? That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, we are at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company. Anyway, Harry Reeser and his Clico Club Eskimos, they used to have a radio program. They used to play on the radio quite often. Harry Reeser was a banjo player from originally Piqua, Ohio. They called him the Banjo Crackerjack, and he was a marvelous banjo player, but he was an even a better, more successful band leader, and he recorded for all of the record labels, all of the major labels, the minor labels, and they used a different name for the band every place he recorded. Sometimes they called them 7 Little Polar Bears or 6 Jumping Jacks or whatever they might be. But on radio, they were sponsored by the Clico Club Soft Drink Company that used to feature all different flavors of soft drinks. And they were a pretty big company in those days. And to show how cold and refreshing their soft drinks were, they dressed up their band in Eskimo outfits with fur coats and the big hoods and so forth. Now, I can't imagine that they could actually play like that. But they always had their pictures taken like that, so you always imagined that these guys were playing in their fur coats over the radio. And it was Harry Reeser and his Clico Club Eskimos that first recorded the song, written by J. Fred Coots, became quite a hit for that year. And then by the next year, everybody recorded it. Everybody was playing it. Everybody was singing it, and we've been singing it ever since. But when they first recorded it, by Harry Reeser and the Clico Club Eskimos, they started off like this. I just got back from a lovely trip along the Milky Way. I stopped off at the North Pole to spend a holiday. I called on dear old Santa Claus to see what I could see. He took me through his workshop and he told his plan to me. Oh, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list and checking it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. with a little tin horn and a little toy drum. A Rudy toot toot and rummy tum tum. Santa Claus is coming to town. With curly-haired dolls, the toddling coo, elephants, boats, and kitty cars too. Santa Claus is coming to town. The kids in girl and boy land will have a jubilee. They're going to build a toyland town all around the Christmas tree. So you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. There you go, Santa Claus is coming to town. Made it a big hit song for J. Fred Coots, and he did very, very well. We want to thank a couple of our fans, and if you will, they are patrons of the arts. We want to thank Ben Urish, who's watching from somewhere out in Kansas, I believe, and Ray Parker, the great bass player, and he also fiddles around a little bit. And we want to thank both of them for sending up a nice cold libation for West Linenkugel. It's not Linenkugel beer, Linenkugel beer, if you will. It's brewed here at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company in downtown Toledo. The Maumee Bay Brewing Company, by the way, is still open for business, and they're still doing growler fills. Their dining room is still open at the Oliver House, so you can get their full menu. And you can get any of those items for carryout if you like. So the Maumee Bay Brewing Company is still open for business. And if you need hand sanitizer, they manufacture that right here on the premises. So you can get some real Toledo-made hand sanitizer at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company.
Cheers.
You can also get some excellent beer at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company. They're the ones that brew the Buckeye beer and all sorts of other great products. Anyway, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to play another song now. This song was actually originally written for Thanksgiving, but as far back as any of us remember, it's always been considered a Christmas song. And I'm sure everybody remembers this one, and you'll enjoy it. And you can certainly sing along with us, although I think I probably sing a couple of choruses that you don't often hear anymore. But we'll do the whole shebang for you here, one of those great, originally Thanksgiving songs that's turned into a great Christmas tune. And when I ask people to guess, they always say, "Over the river, through the woods." No, that's still a Thanksgiving song. So we're going to play one, and I'm sure everybody knows it. And if you think about it, it never mentions Christmas, Santa Claus, the Christmas tree, or any of those sort of things. But it's still one of our favorite seasonal tunes, if you will. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Ha, 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 bells on bobtail ring. Spirits bright, what fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was sitting by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. He got into a drifted bank, and we got upset. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride horse, he got unhitched. He jumped right o'er the fence. He headed straight for home. My God, that horse had sense. So Fanny Bright and I were stranded in the snows. In spite of winter underwear, my Fanny nearly froze. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. We walked 10 miles at night, got home at break of day, with good old Fanny Bright complaining all the way. She slammed the door so hard, she nearly broke the glass. She said, go take your open sleigh and shove it through the snow. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. You hardly ever hear the last couple verses of that song. Jingle Bells. We want to say thank you to Vernon Meyer for those prolific words. And I want to say thank you to the patrons of the art for sending up a cold one here to the stage. In the very quiet Tip Jar Lounge at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company. You may have heard the story about how on Christmas Eve a year or two ago there was a serious automobile accident, and there were 3 fellows who were driving around a country road or a mountainous road and went off the edge of the mountain and crashed to a fiery death. And they wound up at St. Peter's Gate. By surprise, St. Peter had no idea that they were going to be there and wasn't quite ready. And he saw them and he said, what's going on? And they said, well, we didn't expect to be here. And St. Peter said, I didn't expect to see you here either. And he said, you know, there's normally a long, involved application process if you'd like to get through Heaven's Gates. But in the spirit of the season, and since we're rather short-handed right now, I'll tell you what I do. I tell you what I will do. If each one of you fellows can show me an indication of the Christmas spirit, I will, without any further process, let you right through Heaven's Gates and welcome you in. So he said to the first guy, can you show me any indication of the Christmas spirit? So the fellow said, well, let's see what I can do. And he goes through his pockets and so forth, and he finds a cigarette lighter, and he lights it up and holds it up in the air, and he says, there you go, there's the light burning. That represents the light on top of the Christmas tree, which represents the star in the east that the wise men saw on that very first Christmas so many years ago. Well, St. Peter said, that's pretty good. That's fairly clever. I kind of enjoy that. Go on through Heaven's Gates. This guy doesn't take any time. He just right through Heaven's Gates and he's gone. He asked the next guy, he says, can you show me any indication of the Christmas spirit? He goes through his pockets. He doesn't have any kind of cigarette lighter, but he finds his car keys, starts shaking them, sings jingle bells, jingle all the way. St. Peter says, well, that's stretching it a little bit. That is stretching it, but it is very clever, and in the interest of creativity and in the spirit of the Christmas season, come on through Heaven's Gates. Third guy's getting nervous. He goes through his pockets. He doesn't have any car keys. He doesn't have a cigarette lighter. He's going through his pants pockets, his coat. And finally, he finds a pair of women's panties and pulls them out with a big smile, and he says, there you go. And he holds up this pair of women's panties. He says, there you go. There's the Christmas spirit. St. Peter looks at him and says, good Lord, sir, what possible connection can there be between the spirit of Christmas and those women's panties? And he just smiles, points at him, and says, well, they're carols. Well, thank you for that spontaneous round of silent approval. I'm sure somebody is snickering someplace, but okay, that's my Christmas story for tonight's program. I'll tell you what we are going to do. We're going to play a tune for you, and up until now, we've been playing a lot of the popular Christmas songs, but I'll tell you what we're going to do now. We're going to actually play one of the real Christmas carols, but we're going to play it in ragtime, if you will, and you may have noticed that Wes Linenkugel has moved over from the 4-string tenor banjo to the 4-string upright bass. And so between the two of us, we're going to try to play a real honest-to-goodness Christmas carol in ragtime. Now, some of you will recognize this right off the bat. Some of you will say, that sounds familiar, but I can't quite place it. And some of you will say, I absolutely don't recognize that at all. So when we get finished, I will play it the way it was originally written. But for now, we're going to call this the Midnight Stomp, and I guarantee it's one of the beloved Christmas carols that we hear every year right around this time. Are you ready there, Maestro? Good. All right. Well, I hope everybody recognized that song. We called it the Midnight Stomp, and that was a bit of a clue. But for those of you who did not recognize it, originally, when that song was published in the hymnal, it sounded like this. Well, I hope everybody recognized that. It came upon a midnight clear. I told you it was the midnight stomp. That was a bit of a clue. All right, well, there you go. That brings us back to some memories of Christmases long, long ago. When I was a kid, when I was a young kid, we lived in New York City. We lived in Queens. Queens is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City, for those of you who are not from the Big Apple, if you will. And when I ask people what the 5 boroughs of New York City are, most of the time they get stuck. Obviously, everybody thinks of Manhattan, which is where all the big skyscrapers are. And then there's the Bronx, where the New York Yankees have always played. There's Brooklyn, where I was actually born. There's Queens, where we lived when I was a kid. And the 5th borough, which everybody seems to forget, is the borough of Richmond, which is also known as Staten Island. So those are the 5 boroughs of New York: Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island, which is officially the borough of Richmond. Well, when I was a kid, we lived in Queens, but my Uncle Bill, actually it was my great Uncle Bill, lived in Brooklyn. And Uncle Bill and Aunt Tilly never had any kids of their own, but they had lots and lots of nieces and nephews, and as they used to say, cousins by the dozens. And whenever you'd go to visit Uncle Bill and Aunt Tilly, we always sat in the kitchen. That's where everybody always gathered. It was the meeting place at Uncle Bill's house. The kitchen was always busy. And that's about where you almost always used to gather, except if it was a real special occasion, like maybe once in a while on Sundays after church, if you're still dressed up in your Sunday best, or during the holidays, like Christmas, you would actually meet in the parlor. Now, the parlor was off limits most of the time. The parlor was only available for special occasions, and Uncle Bill and Aunt Tilly moved into that house in 1923. When they moved into it, Uncle Bill furnished it. By the time I came along, most of the furniture had probably been replaced 2 or 3 times in every room except the parlor, because they used the parlor so seldom that it was exactly like it was when they moved into the house in 1923. It still had the original mohair couch, which Aunt Tilly used to always brush off to clean. It wasn't very comfortable. It was mohair. It was like a horsehair couch. It was kind of hard and bristly, but it was very fashionable in 1923. And in one corner of the parlor, they had a big tall lamp with a stained glass shade. And in the other corner, in one of the other corners of the parlor, Uncle Bill used to always put his Christmas tree, and he used to decorate it. And there was a mantle there, and he used to always have a couple of toy soldiers above the mantle. And in the other corner of the parlor, there was the record player that Uncle Bill bought when he moved into that house in 1923. Now, if you remember the record players that were popular in 1923, you've probably seen them before. You may even have one in the attic. He stood about this tall, had the top that came up with a big turntable, and it had a set of doors right underneath there that you opened up to make the volume louder or softer, and then underneath was another set of doors where all the records were stored. And of course, that record player didn't plug into the electricity. It was hand crank powered. There was a crank on the side, and you had to crank that thing up every time you played a record. So you had to crank it up, and you'd get ready, and then you had to put a new steel needle in. Every time you played the record, there was a little thumb screw, and you take the old steel needle out and drop it in the little can, and then put a brand new steel needle in. And around the holiday season, around Christmas time, Uncle Bill would always get out his favorite record, and he'd play it for us. And it was a Paul Whiteman and his orchestra song. It was called The Parade of the Wooden Soldiers. And Uncle Bill always said that if you closed your eyes while you were listening to that song, you could just picture those wooden soldiers marching stiffly along underneath the Christmas tree. Well, the years came and went, and I forgot all about the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers and so forth, and Uncle Bill hasn't been around for generations now. But one day I happened to hear an old player piano. Remember the old-fashioned player pianos with the paper piano rolls? You've probably seen those before. You had to pump those with your feet, and the piano rolls would go, and the holes would be in there, and the notes would play. And I heard an old player piano roll playing the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers, and I decided, well, if a player piano can do it, a piano player ought to be able to do it. So Wes and I sat down, quite a number of years ago, and worked out an arrangement of the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers. And I'd like to play that for you now. And if you close your eyes, you can probably still picture those toy soldiers stiffly parading around the Christmas tree. So the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers goes something like this. Well, there you have it, the Parade of the Wooden Soldiers, bringing memories of Christmases long, long ago, and Uncle Bill's house back in Brooklyn, New York. And if you close your eyes, you can probably still visualize those toy soldiers just stiffly marching their way around that Christmas tree. Yes, memories of Christmases long, long ago. Speaking of memories of Christmases long ago, I was talking to an old-timer, a few years ago, and actually quite a number of years ago, and he was telling me that when he was a little kid, he went to the Catholic schools, and when he was attending the Catholic schools, the nuns always had a special little Christmas party for the last day of school before Christmas vacation. So the Christmas party was coming up the next day, and the nun told all of the students in the classroom, I want you to bring in your favorite Christmas record, and so we can listen to the Christmas music while we're having our little Christmas party here before we are dismissed for the Christmas holiday. So he said no problem. He brought in his favorite tune, his favorite Christmas record, which was a song by a group called the Corn Cobblers, and that's with a K, Corn, K-O-R-N, Cobblers with a K, the Corn Cobblers. So he brought his favorite Christmas record in, and I guess the nun had rather a fit when it turned out that his favorite Christmas song was a song called Don't Give Me No Goose for Christmas, Grandma. And it went something like this. Don't give me no goose for Christmas, Grandma. Stop it, cut it out now, don't you dare. Give me a duck like old MacDonald that goes quackity quack. But a goose would make me nervous every time I turn my back. I don't want no goose for Christmas, Grandma. 'Cause a goose you know is very, very loose. I'll take a pussy like Aunt Molly's or 2 tickets for the Follies. But please don't give me no goose, 'cause I can't take it. Please don't give me no goose. I don't want no goose for Christmas, Grandma. 'Cause a goose you know is nervous as a deuce. I'll take a pussy like Aunt Molly's or 2 tickets for the Follies. But please don't give me no goose, 'cause I can't take it. Please don't give me no goose, 'cause it might hurt me. Please don't give me no goose, I'm screaming madly. Please don't give me no goose. There you have it. Don't give me no goose for Christmas, Grandma. I guess the nuns were horrified by that song, as you can imagine. But I'm sure none of those nuns are still alive, so they've all been able to make peace with that Christmas goose. It was in 1952 that there was a young fellow, a little kid named Jimmy Boyd, recorded a cute little tune, and I'm sure you've heard it before. It was a fun song called I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, and everybody thought it was so cute, and he was such a nice little kid, you know, and he recorded that song, but then they wound up playing it in Boston, and the Archbishop said, wait a minute, I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus. Mommy's not supposed to be kissing anybody but her own husband, and it doesn't matter what kind of toys he's bringing. It doesn't matter what kind of presents he has to offer. Mommy has no business kissing anybody but Daddy, and so they actually banned that song from radio airplay and public performance in Boston. Well, the record company felt like, I think they may have overreacted to this one, so they came up with an idea. And they actually decided to have this little Jimmy Boyd meet the Archbishop of Boston. So they arranged for this meeting, and the Archbishop was introduced to little Jimmy Boyd, and little Jimmy Boyd said, well, I'm the boy that sang I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, and the Archbishop said, yes, and we find that song inappropriate for public performance in Boston. And the little kid, little Jimmy Boyd, said, well, you know that song is a joke, right? And the Archbishop said, well, we don't think it's much of a joke. We don't see the humor in having mommy kissing somebody that isn't her own husband. And the little kid, little Jimmy Boy, said, well, that's the joke. See, he's a little kid. What he sees, what he thinks he sees is mommy kissing Santa Claus, but actually, mommy's kissing daddy who's dressed up to look like Santa Claus. And the Archbishop said, really? And he said, yeah, that's the joke. That's the whole thing. Mommy isn't actually kissing Santa Claus. Mommy's kissing daddy, who's dressed up to look like Santa Claus, and it fools the little kid who's peeking downstairs. And the Archbishop said, oh, mommy's allowed to kiss daddy no matter how he's dressed up. And little Jimmy Boyd said, exactly. That's the whole joke. That's the whole meaning of the song. It's supposed to be funny. So the Archbishop said, well, I guess it's okay for mommy to be kissing daddy if he's dressed up like Santa Claus. So they lifted the ban, and from that day on, we've all been able to enjoy little Jimmy Boyd, who's, I think he's still alive, but he's on Social Security. He's probably in the old folks' home by now. But anyway, he did record in 1952 the song that we've heard ever since, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. And it went, something like this. Kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. She didn't see me creep down the stairs to have a peep. They thought that I was tucked up in my bedroom fast asleep. Then I saw mommy tickle Santa Claus underneath his whiskers, snowy white. What a sight it would have been if Daddy had only seen mommy kissing Santa Claus last night. Kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. She didn't see me creep down the stairs to have a peep. She thought that I was tucked up in my bedroom fast asleep. Then I saw mommy tickle Santa Claus underneath his whiskers, snowy white. What a sight it would have been if Daddy had only seen mommy kissing Santa Claus last night. There you have it. I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, a song that was originally banned in Boston, but thankfully, little Jimmy Boyd talked some sense into the Archbishop and got all of that surrounded and got everything worked out just fine. I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, earlier this evening we played a real traditional Christmas carol, and we played it in ragtime, and I don't think we got any hate mail yet, did we? Any comments saying that we were tasteless and inappropriate? No, I guess so far the comments have been giving us a thumbs up, and that's a very nice thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do that all over again. We're going to take one of the beloved Christmas carols of all time and play it in ragtime, if you will. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you look in the Bible, it does say, make a joyful noise. So if we're taking some liberties with these Christmas carols, well, we're just bringing a little joy into everyone's life, and we certainly hope that you're enjoying the interpretations. We don't mean any sacrilegious implications by any of these things, by any means. Anyway, we're going to take one of the favorite Christmas carols of all time, a song that was written over in Germany and introduced on Christmas Eve about 200 years ago. That's right, Franz Gruber's the one that wrote it, and it turned out that the church organ was out of service on Christmas Eve, so they just sang this song with a guitar accompanying it, and it became one of the most beloved Christmas carols of all time. That was about 200 years ago it was first introduced. Around 100 years ago, when the ragtime era was here, they'd play that. Some of the ragtime piano players would play that sort of thing in ragtime, and it was considered inappropriate, but we'll give you a chance right now to decide whether you think this is good, bad, or indifferent. We're going to rename it slightly to reflect the style in which we're playing it, which is ragtime, and we're going to call this Silent Night, Ragged Night, and we'll see if you enjoy this one. there you have Silent Night, Ragged Night, a little bit of Silent Night in Ragtime, and we certainly hope you enjoyed that. Well, it looks like our hour is up and the low battery light is on the camera, and we're going to have to say goodnight for this evening, but we will be back next week with some conglomeration of entertainment for you on the Grafing Productions YouTube channel. We want to thank our sponsor, Park & Company Insurance, 5749 Park Center Court off Holland, Sylvania Road, just a little bit north of the Central Avenue Strip in West Toledo. We want to thank Park & Company. We want to thank the Maumee Bay Brewing Company for allowing us to put on these virtual concerts, if you will. We want to thank all of you for watching, and if you'll kindly subscribe to the Grafing Productions YouTube channel, that will help us out a whole lot. And also, you can ring the bell, if you will, click the notification, and we'll let you know when other live performances will be coming up. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas, everybody, and we'll see you next week right back here if the governor or emperor of the state of Ohio allows it. We'll be right back here at the Maumee Bay Brewing Company in downtown Toledo. Thank you all, and good night.
We hope you've enjoyed tonight's performance of the Ragtime Rick Show. If you have, click the like button and let us know. Don't forget, there's more where that came from. Be sure to subscribe to the Grafing Productions YouTube channel. And while you're at it, hit that notification bell so you can be sure to catch every new video. It takes a lot of resources to put on a concert like this. To help us make more, please contribute to our PayPal. That's paypal.me/ragtimerick. Thanks for watching.